Okay, I am very worried about Liverpool. I'm overly worried about Liverpool. My brain is blowing this out of all proportions. We've just won the league and now we've lost 2 games against our bogey team, Crystal Palace, who are absolutely flying in the Premier League at the moment, and a hard away fixture at Galatasaray. So in the cold light of day, in clear perspective, it's not really that bad. They're 2 kind of tricky fixtures. Anyone could be excused for losing them. But in my head, I'm thinking, are we ever going to win another game? Is Arne Slot a complete fraud? Did he fluke it last season? Is everybody right about saying, oh, he won it with Klopp's team, but if he has to build his own team, he's never going to manage it? These are the dark thoughts that are going through my head right now. And look, Slot is not a fraud. He's an incredible manager. No one walks into the Premier League, it don't matter what team you give them, and win it in their first year. But there are some concerns here. There are some serious concerns. Like, if I could record this video while pacing around in a circle like this, I probably would. But yeah, let's get into it. There are so many things: team selection, tactics, the transfer window, the money that we spent on these big players. Did we buy in the right positions over the summer? Was some of that money misspent? I think the number one place to start here is with Mark Gahey, because our defense is absolutely atrocious at the minute. Konate looks like he's on another planet. He's got this contract negotiation going on in the background. And look, last season we had Van Dijk, we had Trent, and we had Salah with their contract negotiations, and it didn't phase any of them. If anything, it looked like now that Salah's got his contract, he's on the beach. Van Dijk was incredible last year. Trent was okay last year. He wasn't amazing, but he did a solid job. I mean, they won the league with him at right back. But Konate's head is on another planet. It's either his head's turned by Real Madrid, or, it's just got under his skin. Something's up with this guy. He looked real shaky for the first 3 games. Then it kind of looked like he was getting back to good form. And now in the last 2 games, it's like, okay, shaky Konate is back. And look, he's still young as a centre-back. He's had an amazing 2 or 3 years with building that partnership with Van Dijk. They've looked incredible. So he's allowed to have like a blip in form. The problem is, there's no replacement. Joe Gomez against Southampton also looked like he wanted to leave the club. I think maybe he's finally got to the point where I'm sick of being a squad player. I want to play first team football. He just did not look interested in the game at all. Leone looked incredible in that game. He looked like mini baby Van Dijk. But then he done his ACL and he's out for 12 months, which makes the failure to sign Mark Gahey a monumental failure. Now, look, I'm calling it a failure. It looked like Crystal Palace, they were never going to sell. That's the narrative that, the door was closed by them. But if we'd have slapped another 15 million on top of his price tag and said 50 million, they would have sold. I think they would have sold. So yeah, the defense is a big question. And that brings me on to like the kind of the tactics and the team selection. Now, look, I'm not a tactical mastermind by any means, but it seems to me that Slot has done too much. We all praised Slot. Everyone unanimously across all pundits in the media, everyone was praising Squat last year because he didn't come in and make wholesale changes. He didn't come in just like sweep everything off the table and like start again. He like slowly began to build his style into the team. And instead of it being this like crazy transition and like resetting again from zero, it was just like building on what what Klopp had done. Now it feels like he's done too much. And look, some of this has been forced upon him. It looked like Diaz really wanted to leave. It looked like Nunez wanted first team football. Jota, what happened to Jota? God rest his soul. Trent wanted out. So there are 4 big names in the squad that his hand was forced there. So some of these transfers he's had to make. He's had to find a new right back. He's had to find a new striker. He's had to do something about the left wing. But it seems to me like putting all of these players in the squad at once is just too much. Kirkes is just like hasn't got any nerve. He needs to like he's at like 120% all the time. Just like dial it down to like a solid 90, 85, 90%. And yeah, like completely taking Andy Robinson out of the squad. I know he didn't have the greatest season last season by his own high standards. He was still very good. But like taking him out of the squad completely and just throwing Kirkes straight in there in like big games as well. Merseyside derby, Champions League games, Newcastle away. I think that's a lot. It's a lot for a new player, for a young player. even though he's got Premier League experience. Bradley Frimpong scenario, like, look, I really like Connor Bradley, but I'm still not 100% convinced that he can do it game in, game out, 30 games a season. Like, he's had some incredible games like that crunching tackle on Mbappe, and, you know, plenty of other times where he's looked incredible, bombing forwards and defensively. But can he do it for 30 games a season? I don't know. Frimpong, again, he's new, untested. He looks good in times, but that right back situation is a problem. And Wirtz, onto the big elephant in the room. Florian Wirtz, floppy and worst. I don't know, man. I genuinely believe he will come good. I believe in my heart, in my soul of souls, that he will eventually come good. It looks like with that much talent, you can't just go from like Bundesliga Player of the Year to like complete flop. And look, there's so many factors in it. Just calling him a flop, it's like, it's easy to say, but it's like lazy punditry, it's lazy analysis. Look, I've just moved to Australia in the last 3 months, and I've had a real tough time transitioning into this country. The weather's different, the food's different, everything's expensive as fuck. I don't know anyone here, I don't know the area. So it's been a difficult time for me, and I don't have the pressure of like a million people expecting me to perform in my job. I can just like sit in my office here and work quietly on my own. I don't have 70,000 spectators and millions of people around the world and like hundreds of journalists and analysts and YouTubers like dissecting my every move. So yeah, I'll give him some slack on that one. But I think really his lack of performance is, I think Arne Slot has to take some of the blame here for just like throwing him in and continuously throwing him in. He made a wise move to not pick him to start in the Merseyside derby because that game's just too big, too physical, and he's very, very small at the moment. He doesn't look strong, he doesn't look like he's got confidence. But I think he needs to be dropped more often. I think throwing him directly into the team has not been a great idea because, number one, Liverpool have never played with a 10 since Coutinho. Like, we just don't play with a 10. Number two, he's new to the league. And number three, every single opposition defender is like out to crunch this guy and to like knock him off the ball. Like, everyone wants to put a mark on this £100 million player. So I think drip feeding him in, easing him in, should have been the tactic from the beginning, because not only is it a huge change for him coming from the Bundesliga to the Premier League, it's also a huge change from the entire team around him, the system, the tactics around him, to like, how do we get him into the game? Like, Liverpool have played with a three-man midfield with Szoboszlai being the engine, or before that Henderson being the engine of the machine, and then taking that out and then replacing that box-to-box guy with like an all-out 10 attacking, it's completely changing the dynamic of the team. And I think it's too big a transition to just do all at once. Right back, left back, number 10, putting Ekitike in, putting Isak in. Like, Liverpool have never played with like an out-and-out striker, not hard number 9. Like, we tried it with Nunes, but that was never really like a permanent thing. And we've never played with a 10. And now we're expecting all these new players to just combine and for it all to click. So maybe like my own worry and all this analysis is just too harsh. Like, it's going to take some time to click. You see, Arsenal are basically doing what Liverpool did last year, which is minimal changes. Yeah, they brought loads of people into their squad, but Arteta is drip feeding them in, and he's got a whole bunch of criticism that, like this whole handbrake thing of like not playing Eze enough. But he's dripping them in, and I think it's having Arsenal's look a lot more settled compared to Liverpool just like having everyone chucked in at the same time. And look, I think another elephant in the room, which no one really is talking about in all this analysis about Liverpool, you know, even before these two losses, it looked like it was coming. Like, Liverpool conceded tons of goals. They weren't looking amazing going forward. Obviously, they've got tons of talent, so they're always going to score. But there was, you know, all these, you don't get 5 last-minute winners in a row unless, like, that's not the ideal way. Slot doesn't want that. It's great. It's great for the fans. It's like a great, like, spectacle. It's a great spectacle, but that's not the game plan. The game plan is to win comfortably 2-0 and not need last-minute winners. So these losses are in isolation. But yeah, the one thing I haven't seen anyone say is the lack of Trent. I think the lack of Trent, having that creativity from deep, you know, that was how Liverpool play. It was all the creativity came from deep, like a deep lying like midfield playmaker, but on the right side, all these like balls over the top. You know, when he would get forward into that kind of right channel, pinging it hard in, or, you know, the big switches that would just unlock defenses. We don't have that anymore. And Florian Wirtz has been bought to replace that creativity. But again, it's like the creativity came from one point of the pitch and everyone knew where that creativity was coming from. Like, Salah would just go he wouldn't even need to look. He would just go, and the ball's on the plate before he's even like turned around to see where the ball is. It's landing on his foot. Now that creativity is coming from a completely different part of the pitch, which means the ball has to be fed to that part of the pitch for the creativity to even begin. It's very different. It's very different feeding a ball to a number 10 to spark creativity, compared with feeding the ball to a right back or someone who steps into like a deep midfield position to spark the creativity. So yeah, the lack of Trent and changing the whole tactical approach to the game. Like Florian Wirtz needs time. Florian Wirtz needs time on the ball, whereas Liverpool in the attacking third, it was always like make the pass as quick as possible. Whereas Wirtz, I think, wants to slow down the game. I think that's the way he plays. So it's a huge shift. So yeah, I don't know what the solution is. I think Wirtz needs to be dropped. And I've heard people saying you can't drop a £100 million player. Well, that's nonsense because Liverpool spent 400 million. So all of those players can't be on the pitch at the same time. Isak and Ekitike and Wirtz and Frimpong and Kerkez, they can't all be on the pitch at the same time. So some of them needs to be dropped. I think Andy Robertson needs to come back in. I think the back line needs to be more stable. This Szoboszlai right back thing, I mean, he looks amazing there, but I don't think it can last forever. And look, there are a number of players that didn't have a pre-season. I think maybe Slot is trying to kind of navigate that at the same time. Isak basically just sat on his ass for 3 months in the summer, did nothing. Callister was injured. There's a couple of other players who didn't have a full pre-season. So yeah, there are some players that are going to get back up to speed. But yeah, I think instead of like throwing them all in, they need to be like drip fed in slightly. Go back to what was happening last season. The 3-man midfield, Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai. Jones has barely had a sniff, and I think he was very influential last season. So go back to the basics and drip these players in. Introduce them with 20 minutes to go, with 15 minutes to go. Bring Wirtz on in the second half. See if he can come on fresh. Rather than the pressure having to be on him from the beginning, sprinkle him in when we're already winning and see if he can make an impact on the game, kind of build confidence that way. Same with Kerkez. You know, I would play Robertson and bring Kerkez on to replace him when Robertson's legs have gone. But yeah, I don't know. I'm extremely worried. Do I have faith in Slot that he can turn it around? Yes, he's got a ton of credit in the bank. Yes, there's this part of me that thinks, oh, shit, what if he's run out of ideas? What if he's completely run out of ideas? And there's this other part of me that thinks the transfer window was too much. It was too much. And, you know, selling Luis Diaz, I don't know if that was a good idea. Núñez never reached the heights we expected him, but he was an absolute chaos merchant. He got at defences. Jota, God rest his soul, was an incredible finisher. Yeah, like on paper, it looks like we have improved the squad. Isak, Wirtz, Ekitike replacing Jota, Núñez and Diaz. On paper, it looks like an upgrade, but in reality, fitting them in is not as easy a task as everyone was just like, yeah, add Wirtz and Isak to this team and they're going to walk the league with their eyes closed. It's not that easy. It's not that easy. Do I still think Liverpool are going to win the league? I don't know. I predicted Arsenal will finish third, and that was mainly on the strength of their manager. I don't know if the manager has got what it takes to win a Premier League, but I don't know, these last 2 games of Arsenal, it looks like Arteta's just kind of said, all right, fine, let's just go all out attacking. So yeah, it's up in the air. It's fascinating. As a neutral, it would be fascinating. As a Liverpool fan, it's like making my brain melt and dribble out my ears. Cannot wait to see Liverpool at Chelsea this weekend. And yeah, the Premier League is delivering. It's delivering drama, intrigue, spectacle. Yeah, it's incredible. Can't wait to see how the rest of the season pans out. And I hope to see you again on the next video.